Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to this is the show I look forward to every single week. I thought I was the only cynic till I met two characters from Toronto. Yeah, they always say project up there. And they sell bullion and they sell it for a good reason. There was a great meme I saw with Bugs Bunny, and he was basically saying, you mean I can trade in my fiat currency for real money? And that's when I thought of you guys, thinking that you'll still take paper, right? You'll still
Yep.
take it? Okay.
Yeah.
Up to a point.
Okay.
Funny because the banks don't want you to take the money out, so they give you a hard time. And at the same time, they don't want to take the cash back either, right? They charge us extra money to put the cash back in the bank. So
Every bill, like 10 cents a bill.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Please elaborate. I don't think I've heard of that.
Yeah, the bank charges you to put cash into the bank now.
Wow, Conrad, are we?
Wait, wait, is this just a Canada thing, or is this a normal
It's not.
Oh, well, are you talking about like when we cash a check, they're taking their cut every
No,
time,
no.
or,
I'm
or
saying
something
like
like that?
if you want to put like $5,000 into the bank and you've got
Cash.
cash, they're going to charge you for the bills.
Oh my
Processing of the bills.
I think I'm too poor to even know how this. I haven't seen this happen.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So it's just one of these things where, yes, if you have cash, spend it, but you're probably better off to actually wire funds, use a certified check, pre-authorized debit, but you might as well work within the system and just send your money, because you're going to, in my estimation, you're going to be flagged less for just, doing a direct deposit than you are trying to take the cash out. Right? Yeah. They clearly are flagging cash.
No, but you said putting cash in. I get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but same thing. If you're going to take the money out, they're giving you a hard time. They're giving you a bit of a hard time to put it back in. So you're better off to just go
electronic
the route, wire transfer your funds, and avoid the questions.
Do you think that's like a like some kind of anti-fraud stuff going on, so they're trying to justify them charging you extra? Like, oh, like, yeah, we're putting our money and now
Could be.
Speculate.
Could be. I think it's probably more like, because everything is going digital, they probably look at the cash and say, well, someone's got to handle that. And so that's a cost to us.
Okay.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, there was our friend Rafi Farber paid his fine with pennies. He had
okay.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a really smart move. We all should save our pennies for all. If they don't like the dollar bills, wait till they start getting the pennies.
That's right.
Especially for fines like that, for sure. Well done.
So today I get, I always drop names, but we're fans of Greg Manarino. I know you guys had him on the show. And I saw his Substack today and I kind of summarized it here about, it just seems like almost $1 billion an hour is just unfathomable. I just can't. Any comments from anyone on this?
I mean, stop the madness, right? They're aren't they negotiating budget right now? And yeah,
they'll raise the debt ceiling again. I mean, when have they not kicked it down the road like that you know of?
Well, something has got to give at some point along the road here, and I think what's gonna give, or what's part of what's gonna give, is that people are gonna get, if they aren't already, more and more people are going to be fed up with seeing where the money's going, right? When you're struggling at home and money's just like meandering. They just did it today. They were just saying how much money is going to how much our government is sending overseas. Right? It's like you're sending all this money overseas and you're opening the border to whoever wants to come in. They haven't met any criteria. That starts to really waken people up and tick them off, and I think that's what's going to break. So if you don't like the people voting for these budgets, start calling their offices.
No, that's a good point. Where is the money going? I mean, the Ukrainian war I don't even know what we should call it. It's really US fighting Russia. They always call it the war in Ukraine, but it's US picking a fight with Russia. And I believe that price tag's well over 130 billion. Just remember that the war in Afghanistan went on for 20 years and was 5 times the price of Vietnam. And we replaced the Taliban with the Taliban. What do you think, King of Money, Conrad?
Well, I remember being on that base in Bagram Air Force Base and stuff out there. I was stationed out there for like, I think it was 9 or 10 months, I think. And so when they were showing those pictures, I actually recognized some of those photos when it showed everyone taking off on the C-17s and stuff, because I worked on the flight line out there. And but just the amount of buildings out there, the amount of equipment that we just like left, just left for it's an absurd. The airport that was actually there, the flight line that was in Bagram, they had literally just finished building it when I got there in I think it was 2011. And so when I got there in 2011, they had just finished it, and the massive amount of like work and money that went into just building that flight line, so heavy aircraft could land there safely and with enough runway there. A month after I got there, a C-17 crashed into the flight line, and they didn't lower their landing gears, so they skidded across the entire runway and destroyed it all right after they had just finished building it. So then I'm assuming, we fast forwarded, what was that, a year ago when we pulled out? We fast forwarded that. So they've rebuilt that flight line at least 2 or 3 times, because there's mortar shells that fly in literally every 30 minutes to an hour. You hear mortar shells hitting different parts of the base. And so they were just constantly rebuilding this and stuff. But the amount of money that just got thrown into that, just that one little section, that was basically the main section that I knew about how it ran. The amount of money must be absurd. It must be the most absurd amount of money. That's all gone. It's just no benefit there.
Well, yeah, there you
What
go.
do you make? What do you make of? I saw a chart probably about a month ago that showed poppy production in Afghanistan has dropped off a cliff.
Oh, well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because all the Marines that I knew out there, they were in charge of guarding poppy fields. That was, so that's all they were doing and stuff. And I would ask them, like, why are you going out on a run for, because they would go out for a week or 2 at a time. I think they call them FOBs, like forward operating bases. And like, oh yeah, we're just guarding this field, and there's farmers like just staring at us all day.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting that happened. You would think.
And the waste
probably have gone up.
It is military mostly, but it's also, we see like in the States, where if you look in any school district, it's always any state in the United States, that's their largest expenses, public education, K through 12. But yet we have this duplication of bureaucracies like the US Department of Education. It's like there's never, and once you get one of these bureaus open, like let's say the Homeland Security, courtesy of 9/11, they just don't go away. So
yeah, same thing in California, right? It's like you've got the homeless industrial complex. I mean, God knows how much money's gone into that system, and it hasn't fixed the problem one iota. All of these things are ways to waste money, create bureaucracy, which is perfect for funneling money, giving someone a cozy job, all of these things. But they've got the people convinced that somehow shutting down the government, quote unquote, is going to mean that everything stops, which isn't the case. We've already seen government shut down and nothing stopped, right? So, but yeah, you won't get inflation down until you get the debts under control. There's got to be consequences to creating these budgets, but we're nowhere close to that just yet. I think we'll see some concessions from this budget. There'll be a few concessions, but but I don't think we're going to see any major changes for a while till there's like clear administrative changes, and that's in both countries, US and Canada.
People are pivoting, right? People are pivoting. They're realizing that they have no control over where our taxes are going. We're funneling money into the education system, the one-way education system that we have to now, manage, for the young ones, plus the banking system, the currency. You just cranked up the thermostat now on your currency expansion. The devaluation of the currency is happening at a rapid pace. The slide prior was, could this be, it's hyperbolic and hyperinflationary? Absolutely. This is very much so hyperinflationary. And this is the whole reason why paper assets, the time is now to view this as a currency conversion. Just convert out of paper paper assets, and into something tangible that has monetary attributes, because there is a shift. There is a massive reset happening. We're seeing the shift happening from west to east, and shifts in the portfolio now. This was a great letter that came out from Crescat Capital. Tavi Costa does some great work. So we're getting a lot of information now from, financial pundits, financial planners, who are revealing that, hey guys, U.S. Treasuries, as a result of what's been going on over the years, cranking the pedal to the metal, the credibility is lost now with the U.S. Treasuries, and they're now more volatile than gold. Their report was very straightforward, that they believe that the conventional way of, the traditional stock bond, 60-40 split paper, has to change. That we're going to have to see some structuring, significant restructuring in the way you're planning, and start placing an emphasis now on investments in holdings of hard assets. What is the hard asset? Is it just copper? Is it just oil? Where right now, in an inflationary an environment, it's all monetary. So you have to have some monetary hard assets. And the run to precious metals is on. The squeeze is on. It's excited. We're positioned. And our job here at Guildhall is to ensure that people are also positioned with information, with this partnership with you guys. You guys are doing a great job getting the word out there, and we're on board. And this is the task for Canadians and Americans together to ensure independence away from these type of systems.
Well, that was brilliant analysis. I wish I could speak as articulately. One thing we're seeing is sentiment is low right now, but we're also, summers are traditionally and notoriously poor. And we've been speaking to a lot of people that are in the mining space. They just got back from 3 conferences, and one in Beaver Creek outside of Denver, one in Denver, and then one in Golden, which is a suburb basically of Denver. And there was a lot of kerfuffle around Twitter that a lot of these one-on-one meetings that the CEO has with the public to raise money, there's just this feeling of people scared because of that. We still haven't seen people rotate out of overvalued equities into what you just said, Jerry, real hard assets. So I'm glad you're solving those problems with physical gold and silver. And we're going to talk a little bit more about China here in a second. You'll see
about the whole reshuffling. The Bank of America came out today. Investors are dumping equities now at the fastest pace since September. Amid fears of prolonged high interest rates, investors are rapidly withdrawing now from equities, says Bank of America Corp. That the global equity funds lost $16.9 billion in a week. The U.S. stocks hit the hardest. So this is stocks, but we're also seeing the shift away from big institutions, uninsured depositors out of JP Morgan and Bank of America. The shift is on. It's a wild time. It's a wild time in that picture there with with Janet Yellen, the explosion in the back. I think that's on the horizon.
But isn't AI supposed to be the best? Isn't it good? I thought we were gonna go to the moon still. I thought we were gonna go 5x on NVIDIA by next month. It seemed like that was the course.
Definitely the pump and dump, right? This is what they do best, is just pump it and dump it. We'll see. It definitely overvalued. The price to earning ratios on almost everything, on all the NASDAQs. You mentioned all the time, John, the Magnificent Seven. It's holding up this massive bubble.
Right.
It's massive.
Yeah, the best analogy, I keep thinking there's like 500 players in the NFL, and if only 7 could play football, I think the ratings would be pretty low on CBS on the weekends. If here we got 7 players in the league, but on to other. I wonder if I have any good news. Let's see if there'll be some good news. I'll get a picture of a deer or
Guys, have you seen what's going on with the debt clock? What is this?
Oh, the debt clock. Yeah, it's probably broken. Is it 33 trillion? Do you mean on the paper? So you mean
Well,
just
it's got these like it's got this when you log on, it's got this arrow from the dollar to gold ratio and dollar to silver ratio, and then it like circles around to the dollar supply, which is going down. It's just weird. The whole thing.
Okay, let's talk about weirdness. Conrad, there was some glitch that you pointed out. There was like 2 or 3 this week. Which was the
I was going to talk about. Well, I just wanted to point out that treasury glitch we had. But actually, yeah, Jeremy, I've never seen that before. That's all brand new on the U.S. debt clock for sure.
And actually, what's new? I'm just noticing BRICS GDP to gold ratio. How about that one?
Yeah, they're really boosting this up.
Yeah.
They're making it spiffy. I like it.
Yeah, G7 GDP to gold ratio, $72,000 an ounce.
I think we have some data that's similar to that, and we did not practice this. I'm glad that's very serendipitous, and Carl Jung called it synchronicity when our minds are aligned. But there's some data here.
So a great Police album, let's be honest.
What's that?
Also a great
Beautiful
Police
one.
album.
Yeah, beautiful one.
So we've been last week, I think we talked about central bank buying, but we're just seeing again this massive steep hill, which I think is a good sign in terms of what do you guys think about gold inventories?
Yeah, I think that we've obviously come to the end of the 1971 experiment. They were able to shut the window, give the power to the central banks. The central banks had a great party. The party's over. Everyone's known that the party was over back in 2008. They've staved off the inevitable. They've kicked the can down the road to protect themselves. And now it's full hardcore. How do we crash this system and move on to the next system? And that's the true sort of existential battle right now is, are the central bankers, central planners going to be the rulers of the world, or are we going to have decentralization, BRICS equanimity, real equanimity, not the kind that come with like the LGBTQ bend a knee kind of equanimity, or equality, I should say, but real equality and equality of trade, equality of value across the world. So that's really the battle. And the fact that you see gold rising in inventories across the central bankers tell you that they know what's up. They know what's going on. And this is just, some would say they don't want to see the central banks buying gold, right? What are they buying gold with? They didn't earn that money. They printed the currency. They took your income tax. They don't deserve the gold. That gold should be confiscated from those central banks and given back to the people if you want to really, talk about it. But they know what the illusion is. The illusion is fiat currency that they've been creating out of nothing, has no value. And so they're going to buy the actual real assets, which help give them the credibility. But I don't think that that's a winning game for them. But it does show that the system's over. That whole period of time from 71 to now is done and dusted. The party ended in 2008. You can see the climb, and you should be taking part of that, because so there's 2 ways to approach it. Whatever the next system is, okay? Right. And I don't care if you're a futurist, bowing at the altar of crypto, that's totally fine. But gold is the bridge. And gold is either going to save you, or it's also going to be a part of the system going forward. So it doesn't matter whatever way you look at it. Does everything implode and the value drops? Yeah, you're gonna want to have gold. Does it continue higher from here? Under what circumstance? They've printed more money. You're going to want to own gold. So you muted yourself, John. So I think every which way you look at it from here, that chart is just an indicator that you still need physical gold and silver moving forward.
Well, I was actually curious. So what is Canada's central bank's main focus when it comes to uh, actually storing or accumulating, as you will, silver, gold,
Nothing.
platinum? It's
Nothing.
always, is it always that still? It's not. They haven't done anything else to update that in any kind of
Nothing.
way.
All we know is right when Trudeau got in, they sold off the rest of the gold, which was literally a drawer full, and that's been it. They've been full World Economic Forum agenda, and look, we have a lot of gold in the ground. I think we're like the 6th, 7th, or 8th largest mining country. So we could certainly pledge it at some point. You could certainly nationalize some mines if that's what you were going to do. Hopefully not. But there's always a means to get it. But they are showing that they do not make it a priority.
Ah, okay.
Interesting.
Because so it sounds like the next step would just be adopting the world coin iris scanner, just having that at every ATM basically that you're going
Well,
to.
that circles back to what we first started about. The war on cash would feed into the Fed now. What do you guys call it in Canada? We have a Fed now.
You know what? I can always appreciate a little bit of fear waking people up, but I'll give you one example. Jerry, you can back me up on this, but last year, or I guess earlier this year, they had a massive debacle with passports.
Right.
You could not get a passport for your life. You couldn't get it renewed. You couldn't get your first passport. You couldn't get a new one. It was just, there were 8 months waits, and it was just a complete horror show. Okay. Well, that's what happens when you let governments control these sorts of things. Okay. The Vax Pass was a complete disaster. Okay. And literally within 2 weeks, no one was paying attention to it anyway. So these type of things of like putting power of the control of your purse into the government's hands, knowing how they control things. I mean, look at a government website. Even here in Toronto, we have a housing crisis, and there's literally ads on the radio show from the Ontario government telling you that there's a housing crisis, as though you didn't already know that, and that you should visit their website to read whatever freaking propaganda they have. And you're sitting there saying, listen, we advertise on that radio station. I know how expensive it is. And that's where the Ontario tax dollar is going, to tell you that there's a housing crisis. Well, but we're going to tell you our story of it, right? So it's ridiculous. My point is, how can you leave anything like that into the hands of the government? And how many people are left? What percentage of the population is left that really think the government is the person to hand control of that to? I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I think it's smaller than you think.
Well, I think people have to go along with certain scenarios because they're so busy working their 2 to 3 jobs,
Right.
and they're barely, that's paid, that's month to month pay right there. Like they're not able to do investments with that kind of income and stuff, because it's just three normal paying jobs, or minimum wage paying jobs, and they just don't have the time. So they're just following whatever anyone's saying, and then if there's a glimpse of a stimmy check of any kind that comes up, then you're just going to follow whatever that entity or organization or cabal decides to do.
I totally,
it sucks.
yeah, I hear you. I was, if you go back a decade, let's say, maybe 12 years, let's say, government would say inflation's at 12%. It's really at 6 or 7. So you're down 50% on a decade. But let's say you had some GICs over the course of the decade. So you're really only down 20% instead of 70%. And you look back on the decade and you say, wow, prices are rising over time. Right?
Right.
And it's easier to accept that. You could say, yeah, things are going up over time. and it's just inflation, some sort of natural phenomenon. But today it's up, 15%, and the government's 5% numbers trash.
Yeah.
So it's obvious now. And so now you can't help but make the connection, and you say, this is bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So, we had, I don't know how many people walking, like, protesting for the indoctrination of kids in the schools, because they see that they're getting fed up with it. And there's literally anti-protests to show that, is it an LGBTQ protest or not, right? So I think people do get fed up. I think that, I would say, if I could argue that what you've said, because it makes sense, I would say I didn't see that when you had the Arab Spring or whatever, when they ran out of food. When you have enough people in lines at food banks, giving them $100 check is going to piss them off. Even the people who were happy to take universal basic income, at some point they're gonna say, no, this isn't enough. But I will agree that, unless I'm agreeing with myself here, that it's the pocketbook that wakes people up the most.
Yeah.
If you've gotten to a point where you can't make ends meet, whereas 10 years ago you could, you would be livid. And we do see that in the poll numbers, right? The poll numbers here are moving faster and faster towards the conservatives.
Well, if you look at this, let's look at this. I'm doing with my mouse cursor. Unless your income's going up like this, then you're behind. I hate to be that simple about it, but it's sort of that's the classic definition of inflation. So let's go to the next slide.
Well, yeah, it's true. Look, they take 30-40% income tax. They charge here in Ontario that everything is 13% after tax. Now you put inflation above 10%, you're getting close to 70% of your income that you don't get to keep. So yeah, you do have to fight to put some of that income into, or diversify your portfolio. You do have to get some of that income into gold and silver, because in our estimation, it is an inflation rebate. You are going to get it back, because silver, when it goes to $300-$400 an ounce, is going to make back all that money for you.
Now, not to derail too much, but Jerry and Jeremy, what is something personally that you guys have noticed that actually, like, something you buy that has significantly increased over the past, like, let's just say 3 years, and I don't even think we have to go that far back, but like for me, it's been almost I would say like vape juice. I like to vape a lot. That's gone up. I'd say at least 17% from what I normally buy. Even the cheap places that I buy from. But
Yeah.
is there anything off the top of your head that each of you guys
Everything.
can think of?
It's almost like what hasn't gone up. Okay, you want to go lease a car, the lease rate's gone up. You want to go grocery shopping, everything is up. You want to go out for dinner, it's a bill that used to be $175 is $240 now. You want to pay for your kids' education, those have gone up. Everything has gone up, and the taxes have gone up too, right? So now, and they just want to keep adding and adding. It is unstoppable. It's unstoppable. There is nothing that's gone down. We're renovating a place right now, and my wife said to me just today, she said, when we renovated our last bathroom, the toilet cost whatever, like $700 on sale. It's now $1,200.
Wow.
It's like everything
so
across the board.
That's like a Pentagon.
Losing.
That's like Pentagon prices, the $700 hammer. Remember?
There you go. Yeah, it's just nuts. It's nuts. Everything. Absolutely. Jerry, what about you? What are you seeing?
It's obvious, like everything's going up. But the thing personally, now that you asked, personally, what kind of gets me and pisses me off is the shrinkflation, and even worse is the skimpflation, where you have the replacing of good ingredients for really poor ones. So you're causing people now to buy things that are really not good for your health.
Right.
So you're now turning people into unhealthy. individuals. So when I see that, especially how drastic it can be from 1 week, a box of cereal has X amount of grams, and the very next week, next to that box is a smaller box with the same price. And that kind of stuff just, it gets me. And you have to just question, how small can these items get? How low can they go? But this is all inflation and stagflationary, where you have no growth, profits getting slashed year over year with companies. How are equities, how are our shares going to make you anything going forward in a stagflationary environment? We have to look in the past, and 70s showed stagflation. And metals performs during times of stagflation very simply. Gold has that the decade long, it had an 838% move up, and silver had an over 1100% move higher. And to get that in your possession during a time of potential hyperinflation, this is the only and the safest play right now. And with regards to the whole central bank digital currency idea and what Canada is doing, they're going full MMT and loose monetary policy. And we don't own any gold in the coffers here in Canada, but we do have a lot of in the grounds. But it's unsustainable. Even the push towards CBDCs is unsustainable. The RCM, the Royal Canadian Mint, also already reported that it was already a failure here in Canada. And we believe that as well, because just like Jeremy mentioned, the whole ArriveCan app to travel failed. The e-Naira system in Nigeria failed for their central bank digital currencies. It's being blocked. It's a bill's being furthered in the US, blocking the Federal Reserve's ambitions of a central bank digital currency. Why? Because the globe, the BRICS, and China are adopting a multipolar view. The last meeting that they had in Johannesburg mentioned in their 10th point a restructuring of Bretton Woods. And if you want to talk about Bretton Woods, it involves gold, and it involves leveling the playing fields in terms of foreign exchange fluctuations. And really, if Canada wants to adopt the central bank digital currency, who's going to use that in the globe? With regards to digital currencies, what is required is adoption. And if the world is not going to adopt those central bank fiat digital currencies, it's going by the way of the dodo. It's going to say bye-bye, just like the loonie eventually. That's my thoughts on these.
No, that's a good point. If you there has to be legitimacy. If the people don't buy in, they'll reject it. Now, here's some good news, because a lot of doom and gloom seems to pervade our thoughts. I've been doing some deep dives into the histories of let's just say the last 3 or 4 bull runs in gold. The fact that gold, and a lot of gold, I hate the word gold bug, a lot of enthusiastic people with precious metals have been whining that gold and silver have been chopping sideways for the last 2 or 3 years. But this is the first time gold has really held this well in a fierce rate hike cycle that started in March of 2022. I mean, they went from 0 to 5.5 pretty quickly. And gold's, still close to, it's above $1,900. So when there is a pause and then a return to, we know based on that first slide that we showed today that they can't afford $1 billion, was that every 30 days? What was that? Or is that every day? Let me look at that slide. It's hard to even remember.
Oh, no, that's well, it's basically $1 billion an hour if you're going off of off of how much was raised in the last
we know
48
that
hours.
Means that what to service that kind of debt means they're going to have to cut, right? Is that
because didn't they say that $5 trillion is rolling over this in the next several months? So that's $5 trillion that goes from 0% interest up to up to 5%.
Right.
Right.
That'll be fine.
That'll be fine. I remember who was the guy in Arizona that ran against Obama?
Okay.
Oh, man, I don't remember.
Was it Ross Perot?
No, he was an independent. The guy with the wrinkled flag, Jerry.
Oh, McCain?
Huh? McCain. he said the debts don't matter. He was the guy who said mostly
Nice.
the debts don't matter. It's all fine because the interest rates, right? Just like here, Trudeau was on camera saying, like arguing with a journalist saying, what was that? What are you talking about? Interest rates are super low right now. They're not going to go up for some time. And then bang, they've gone up. The interest rate whole thing is just shows how
It's breaking.
you know what the interest rates are? It's really a case of the Fed, like, know them by their actions. Just don't even listen to anything they're saying. Just know them by their actions and what they're doing. And it is not going to have a happy ending for the Fed. They're going to be forced to make some changes. And even if they don't lower interest rates, they'll probably create the money out of somewhere, right? They don't have, like, you don't have to lower the rates. You could just create a whole bunch of money to shore up accounts.
Well, in history, what happens, I always go to history, you got to, but I was thinking about this recently. Vladimir Lenin, Hitler, God, everybody says that word, Mussolini and Roosevelt, all four around the same decades almost, had to go to the confiscation of gold card. And you got to think, why does that such a repeat in history?
Okay,
any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I got a thought. You ready?
I'll go on that too.
Okay. All right.
Let's go Jerry first, and then
No, Jeremy, you are cranked up, ready to go.
I'm sorry.
Jeremy was cranked.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
For the last 2 decades, we'll call them the powers that be, have created a steam valve on the pressure cooker. Okay. We don't want you to own real gold. We want you to own an ETF. We want you to own certificates. We want you to own gold-backed funds where the bank has the gold, but you don't have the gold, right? They've made it so that people don't own the gold, right? You're talking about a very small population that really own gold, right? What do we look to for an indicator that everybody's owning gold? We look to the central banks. They own the gold. So I think it's ironic, this idea, which I could look at in many different ways, but the fact is they have done nothing for the last 20 years but to dissuade you and make you take the off-ramp of owning actual gold to owning their version of the gold.
Right.
So when they come time to confiscate it, they have to confiscate it from themselves first. It's much easier to take it straight from the ETF or a gold-backed fund or straight from the Royal Canadian Mint than it would be to actually pry it from the private hands. So I think the whole thing would be ironic if that was what they looked to do. And Mussolini and all of those others, they never did any of that. They never dissuaded people from owning it in the first place.
That's right. That was my point. People back then, they had the gold already, not dissuaded. The financial planners here, pension companies, they won't own gold. You have to own the proxy, something that represents the gold, the derivative of the gold. And the statistic is actually less than 1% of all, even the US population, and in Canadians, even less, that own gold. So if you were to do something that stupid and a waste of time, you would probably end up with a pittance compared to how many ounces or tons of gold that you actually need, which you would actually get from if you were to nationalize a mine, which actually happened in Canada. We leased out some mining land in 2019 to China. So it's a very easy thing to do, to parcel off a real estate deal in a matter of a week. But I mean, the Canadian government, through the bail-in clause and C-15, I believe it's called, 2008, 2009 crisis, many people don't know, but the Canadian banks received bailout funds as well as the US. So Canadians were touted as saying, we were the strongest bank. We had the strongest banking system, almost like Switzerland. But all 5 Canadian banks received bailouts. And fast forward to today, in the next round of recession and market downturns, we have a bail-in clause because the money sitting in the banks are not, it's just digital ones and zeros. The numbers there are easy to grab at. It's digital. It's a SWIFT system, just like how you lock bank accounts and kick Russia off the SWIFT system, they can easily grab at the funds in the bank. What kind of deposits? We don't know. They can redefine what type of deposits, but the bill is in there. It's become law. When Trudeau came into government in 2016, he signed that into law. So the next market downturn, this is the reason why people are waking up, and they want to negate and just hold a little bit of less money, wealth in the banks, away from digital system, undigitize your wealth. Gold can't be hacked. Silver can't be hacked. And whenever there's a restructuring of the financial systems globally, it's going to involve gold and silver, which they'll have to get. Unfortunately, Canada will have to get it from the ground, not from the people.
Okay, we're going to let you, King of Money, give us some final thoughts.
Yeah.
And we're going to put you on the spot because each week it's just the three of us. And we probably won't have you back, King of Money. No, I'm kidding you. It's a joke.
That's fine. Whatever.
I'm
I
kidding.
get it.
You know I'm kidding. No,
No.
everyone, he's my boss, so we're going to let him have the last word. Go ahead. Go for it, Conrad.
Well, as I stare into the void and the dystopia of the World Economic Forum and all these fun little tyrants, I would say, and different crazy rules that everyone's setting up in the world, trying to manipulate the system, like you were talking about, Jerry and Jeremy, with creating fake money and trying to pose it as real money. I mean, at the end of the day, we all know what actually matters, and that's having physical in your hand, in your pockets, under your floors, in your house, in your drywall, wherever you want to hide it.
And where can you get it in Toronto? Anyone?
Does anyone know where you can actually get these mystical coins?
Got to get in touch with Guildhall, guildhallwealth.com.
Right on.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. Yes.
18778 silver. 18778 silver. Give us a call. We'd be more than happy to help.
Say that number one more time. I missed it.
18778 silver.
Okay. Perfect.
Guildhall Wealth.
All right, y'all. That's enough for this week. And have a great week. The rest of the week, we're going to air this on Monday. So we will be talking to you soon in another week.
Sounds great.
And we always say, stay awesome. Really stay awesome and positive if you can.
Thanks, guys.
Right. Have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
A giant thank you, our proud sponsor, Guildhall Wealth Management. The Chads that work there have power levels way over 9,000 and provide amazing services. So hurry up and go to guildhallwealth.com. You shan't be disappointed. Now, our beautiful Patreon supporters. GG Bullion and hashtag Drain the Mint is Stupid are our life-giving community member apes. They support us, and we're truly grateful to you as well. If you support us on Patreon, you too will also have your name shouted out here by me or the other twisted creations of SDC. Until next time, big butts, coconuts, apple pies, and fart machines.